Hello, my name's Andrew Rodenberg, and we're going to get started with our slow flow yoga today. I'm going to start up sitting nice and tall. So shoulders over the hips as best you can, ears over the shoulders, just a little bit of a lift of the chest. We don't want to be sagging down to the body. So we also don't want to be tightening up to the lower back. So we can think about the abs and the obliques, gently lifting the ribs. If you want to shrug your shoulders up and relax them down and back, that's an option. And from there, you can find a spot to gaze at or close the eyes, just whatever feels comfortable. Try to relax the jaw. Start taking a few deep, even breaths here. So we're looking for movement through the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. It's where most of the movement happens as we breathe. If you're already used to taking deep, even breaths, you may notice movement to the chest and shoulders. Maybe even exaggerating a few breaths if you'd like. You may notice movement to the clavicle and upper back. That's the most subtle movement of the body as we breathe. Just noticing that for yourself, whatever it is you do feel as you inhale and exhale. Once again, the majority of that movement that we should find is through the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. You're a little taller at the top of your inhale, maintaining length as the shoulders relax down on the exhale. And as you inhale and exhale, just noticing if the breath is smooth and even, if it's a challenge to exaggerate a breath, or if that feels like a natural action. Noticing the body as you breathe, if it's an effort to sit up nice and tall today, or if it feels like a nice, comfortable position, a natural position for your body. Maybe it's a challenge to sit up tall, just noticing that for yourself. Taking just a moment to notice where your focus is. As best you can, we want to keep focused to the breath, and that may be the movement of the ribs, maybe that's the length of the exhale for you. Well, someday the exhale may end up twice as long as the in-breath. For now, just finding whatever comfortable exhale feels natural for you. Breathing. We're just going to take a few more deep, even breaths here. Not forcing anything, but just allowing the exhale to lengthen as little or as much as is comfortable. And when you're ready on the inhale with the shoulders down, we're just going to reach the arms up. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. You can interlace the palms, fingers and let the palms press out here for just a moment. Pinky sides of the hands will gently press out behind you. They'll engage across the upper back. Any movements of the head and neck that you need to add here. We'll take about 4 more breaths. If you need a gentle bend to the elbows, that's perfect here. You're ready on the exhale. Let's go ahead and take the left hand down to the floor or block, and we'll reach up and out to the side. So walk your fingers out, bend at your elbow. We want to think about the top shoulder rotating up and back so we can keep the chest open. We don't want to force that. Just finding some length here. Gentle lift of the ribs, relaxing the right leg, and you can gaze up. You can relax the head and neck or whatever movements are appropriate for your body. We're going to take about 5 breaths here. If this feels comfortable, you can stay. If you want to bring the bicep by the ear, it'll move a little more length out of the rib cage. Fingertips to the shoulder girdle up. You need to keep the rotator cuff nice and safe. If you'd rather keep the hand to the hip or the lower back, those are options as well. Whatever option you're doing here, just keep the same thing. We're just going to exhale up, and we're going to do the same stretch on the other side. So reaching up on the inhale. On the exhale, we'll take the right hand down to the floor or block, or up and out to the side. Same thing, gently lifting the ribs. Reaching out over the head. If you want to gaze up, that's an option. Any movements to the head and neck that feel appropriate. We're just breathing here. Once again, wherever you have the arm, just find that same spot here as you breathe. Maintaining all of your length. The bottom set of ribs will naturally squeeze on your exhale. We use that action to come all the way through as we come up. Shoulders down the back. Right into our twist, hands to your right knee. So we don't want to lean out to the right. We don't want to lean behind us, but let the focus be lifting the ribs. And on the exhale, gentle twist around to your right, gazing over the shoulder or closing the eye. If you gaze over the shoulder, you'll tend to pull your body through a little further. If you close the eyes, it'll tend to make your twist more relaxed. Maintaining length, so the lower back stays fairly relaxed. The abs and the obliques create the lift of the spine. Head around last, tall on the inhale. Head around last. Hands to the opposite knee. If you'd like to switch the feet out, you can always switch the feet out so the opposite one on top or in front. Whenever you're ready, we'll find the hands to the left knee. And again, we aren't leaning to the side. Lift the ribs, shoulders drop, and on the exhale, twisting around to the left. So gazing around or closing the eyes, whatever you did on the other side will probably be appropriate here as well. And we'll take the same breaths. Abs and obliques lifting the ribs, the chest stays open, not tightening up the lower back, but finding length up the crown of the head. When you're ready, head comes around last, tall on the in-breath. Shoulders down the back. From here, we're just going to find a simple seated forward fold. So just lift your ribs. On the exhale, let the body come forward a little bit. You can use hands for support, chest from side to side. You can lift and drop opposing shoulders as you move down. You can be arms out in front, which will tend to leverage you forward and find a more neutral lower back, or you can pull the elbows in to find more of a roundness through the upper spine. We'll take just a few breaths here. You can always bring the forehead to a block here if you'd like, or a pillow, a blanket, whatever you need. Just a couple breaths. Hands for support if you'd like. On the inhale, we begin to unhinge all the way up. Shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. Go ahead and shrug the shoulders up and relax them down and back just so we get a little more lift of the chest. Hands to the floor behind you. And lift your chest up a little bit. So this isn't about pushing the belly forward. It's about lifting the chest up off the ribs up off the hip points. So the chest lifts. We don't want to tighten up the lower back. If you want to keep the chin gently tucked, you can gaze at the wall in front of you or up where the ceiling and the wall meet. If you want to gaze up, that's an option. If you're relaxing your head and neck back all the way, that's your option. Just be careful of the neck when we come forward again. We're going to think about 4 breaths here. Even if you're just gazing up, you can maintain length. We don't want to jet the chin out, but maintaining length across the neck. Shrugging the shoulders if you need to safely bring the head back up. Nice and tall through the spine, just a couple of breaths here. When you're ready, we're going to start off up at the top of the mat. So we'll bring the inside or outside edges of the feet parallel to one another. We just don't want to be standing with the toes facing different directions. We don't want the hips stuck out to the side, but finding length here in a mountain pose. Abs lift the ribs up off the hips, rotate the palms forward to open up across the chest. When we find our back bend, the thighs are going to move forward and the chest is going to lift. We don't want to push the belly forward in our back bend. So when you're ready on the inhale, arms up, shoulders down the back, find your back bend. Lift the chest. Exhale forward. Swan dive, ragdoll, hinge down, whatever's comfortable for you. Bending the knees if you'd like. Walking out the hamstrings here a little bit. A little bit of a bend to the knee allow you to get the belly closer to the thighs, which will kind of isolate the stretch into the hamstring. It'll take some pressure off your back and the backs of the knees. That's an option. If you want the hands around to either sides of the feet, that'll hit a little bit to the opposite IT band, especially if you're pushing the hips off in that direction. After you've added some movement, come back to center. Bend the knees as much as you need to touch the floor. Keep that gentle bend as we find our half lift. Hands to the shins, chest parallel. Chest is open, ribs are pulling away from the hip points. It's the abs and the obliques once again. On the exhale, relax. And we're just going to find 2 more of those. So on the inhale, half lift. Exhale, relax. Last one on the inhale. Just wherever you need to go to find a long neutral spine. Exhale, relax. Right foot takes a big step back. So for this first one, let's go ahead and drop the knee to the floor for just a moment. Any kind of rocking of the hips from side to side you need to do. You can gaze over the left shoulder to draw the right hip forward and down. Keep the neck long. We'll take about 3 breaths. When you're ready, we're just going to switch the feet out so we can lift the hips and the bottom set of ribs. If you need to keep the knee down to switch the legs out, that's fine. Left to meet the right, right foot forward up between the hands. And once again, for this one, we'll go ahead and let the knee come down to the floor, shoulders back, chest forward. The gentle gaze over the right shoulder. We'll have to draw the left hip forward and down. Just a few more breaths here. Back of the neck stays long, jaw is relaxed. Once again, however you need to, you can keep the knees on the floor. On the exhale, right to meet the left into high plank. Knees can drop once again from this position. On the exhale, chaturanga. So elbows reach back, knees drop again if you need it. Chest to the floor. So push into the tops of the feet so the legs are really active. Glutes and the abs hug up against the skeleton and we'll pull the chest forward. Keep your neck long. We don't want to jut the chin forward. We're just going to pause here a little bit. If you want a little bit of rocking from side to side, think more about the chest extending forward and the toes reaching back than trying to see how much you can crunch the head up. This is all about length here. 3 breaths. Breathing. I want to feel that movement into the chest and the rib cage. On the exhale, curl the toes, down dog. Stay in the knees if you need to. Hips up and back towards the heels. If you need to bring the feet wider, that's an option. You can keep the feet a little more narrow. Same thing with the hands. The hands can come out to the sides. Just whatever you need to do here. Lifting heels and bending knees as much as you need to. We'll take about 3 breaths. When you're ready, we're going to walk the feet up to the hands. You can just do this one step at a time. You can bend the knees as much as you need to. All the way up to the top of the mat. Inside or outside edges of the feet parallel. Gently bend your knees. You can let the hips drop, especially if you tend to get lightheaded or have low blood pressure. On the inhale, all the way up. Hands in front of the heart. Same thing. Thighs forward, chest lifts on an inhale. Exhale, forward fold, swan dive, ragdolling or hinging down. Half lift on the inhale, extend. Exhale, relax. We'll just step through this set. So on the inhale, left foot back. Exhale, high plank. Knees drop if you need it. Chaturanga, leading to the chest, find your low cobra, lengthen out. Chest away from the toes. Glutes and the abs hug up against the skeleton for support. Exhale, down dog. Any movement to the legs you need to create, any movement to the hands or shoulders. You need to ever come down to the forearms. That's also an option. Some of us may find coming down to the knees is a better option to lengthen the back. Exhaling, left foot up between the hands. You can drop a knee. You can use a hand to pull the foot up for support. Exhale, right to meet the left. Inhale, sweep up to standing. Hands in front of the heart. Just throwing in a few variations here as we go. Thighs forward, chest lifts for your back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Half lift on the inhale, extend. Exhale, relax. Inhale, right foot to the back of the mat. So from here, we're going to step the right foot forward just enough to get the heel to the floor. So if you need to step it out to the side, off to the right a little bit, it'll make a little more room for tight hips and thighs. Knee over the ankle on the left side. Hands by the hips. Abs and obliques lift the ribs. You can always make your warrior one a little more narrow if you need to. Try to keep the back leg straight. Try to let the hips sink towards the floor. We'll take about 3 more breaths here. Like you gaze up, that's always an option. We're just not jutting the chin out. We're maintaining length of the spine. Abs and obliques. We're just thinking about keeping that corset around the center of the body on the exhale. Hands down to either side of the front foot. Lunge. And we'll go ahead and find our high plank on the exhale. Chaturanga. Back bend. Find your low cobra. Length. Exhale, down dog. Just a few breaths here, broad across the upper back. We don't want to crunch the shoulders together, but swing the elbows in to find that broadness across the upper back. Right foot forward. You can exhale or inhale. If you need to drop the knee, once again, that's your option. Left foot steps forward just enough to get the heel to plant. Strong leg. Knee and ankle on the right side is lined up. So abs and obliques, once again, lift the ribs. Inhaling all the way up. Knee over the ankle. Remember, we'd rather have a shorter stance than be pushing the hip in here. Abs lift the ribs, gazing forward or up. We'll take our breaths. Keep the neck long. Abs and obliques are supporting the body. That keeps pressure off the back. Maintain that as you exhale the hands down, especially as you get down about 45 degrees. Inhale, lunge. Forward fold on the exhale. Left to beat the right. Inhale, sweeping up. Hands in front of the heart. Shoulders down the back. Next set. Once again, thighs forward, chestless. On the inhale, length. Exhale, forward fold. Maintaining length of the spine on the inhale, half lift. Exhale, relax. We'll go ahead and take the left foot back on the inhale. Exhale, high plank. Leading to the chest, elbows reach back. Low cobra on the inhale, stretch out long. Forward to the chest, back to the toes. Exhale, down dog. 3 breaths here, broad across the upper back. Exhaling, foot up between the hands, forward fold. Inhale, sweeping all the way up to center. Hands in front of the heart, shoulders sinking away from the ears. Any movements of your legs, just shake out the legs and ankles here for a moment. So we're going to bring the inside or outside edges of the feet parallel once again. And just bring the arms up over the head. If you want to push your hands together, if you want to interlace them into a fist, just whatever feels best here. We just don't want shoulders up by the ears. Glutes and the abs hug up against the skeleton. We're just creating some support to the body. You can squeeze the abs here without straining the voice because it's just engaging enough to find a little bit of support. Same thing with the glutes, so the spine's supported. Whenever you're ready, on an inhale, we'll just start to lean over to the left. You can let the hips move off to the right, lifting the ribs up off the hip points. If you'd like, you can gaze up through the bicep or through the armpit. Take about 2 more breaths. Exhale, we just want to gently come back to center. Same thing on the other side. Just let the hips float off to the left. Lift the right ribs. We want to extend up and out of the pelvis. Shoulders down the back. Don't be afraid to bend the elbows if you need to. A few breaths here. Finding your gaze. Abs and obliques on the exhale. Squeeze us back up. Gentle back bend. Let the thighs come forward a little bit. Lift your chest. If you think you're going to be better off with hands in front of the heart to pull pressure off the spine, that's an option. Take about 3 breaths here. Glutes and the abs hug up against the skeleton for support. Gently lifting kneecaps. Back up to center. Bringing the arms down. We're going to step out wide for our forward fold. Outside edges of the feet parallel. Lift the ribs on the exhale. Hips back, chest forward. Try to maintain a neutral spine as long as you can. So we're slowly coming down as we shift weight from thigh to thigh, side to side. Fingertips can reach down for the floor or a block if you need it. Walking the hands over towards your left foot. Hands can walk over towards the right foot. Back to center. Any shifting from side to side to the hips you need to do. Try to find even weight into your feet. Abs and obliques lift the ribs up off the hips as the shoulders come back. We're just going to slowly unhinge all the way back up to center. Turning out through the right toes. So a little bit external rotation here. The tendency is to lean towards our externally rotated thigh or the direction of the toes. We're going to try to keep the shoulders over the hips here, shoulders down the back. So if you want to bring your hands to the hips to stay lined up, that's fine. If you feel comfortable coming down with the arms out, that's your option. We're just looking for knee over the ankle. So when you're ready on the exhale, just sink through. And we'll breathe here. Shoulders over the hips, knees over the ankle. If you want to open a little further to drop, that's an option. If you need to bring the feet in to stay a little more conservative, that's perfect. Gazing over your right middle finger, we'll breathe here. Just keep in mind, we want the big toe to be able to be visible just on the inside edge of the knee. That means the knee over the ankle as opposed to collapsing in towards the midline. This length we have to the torso we want to maintain as we bring the right elbow to the right thigh. So keep your shoulders strong as you open. Fingertips to the shoulder, hand to the hip, bicep by the ear. I'll lift the ribs a little further. We'll breathe here. Gazing up if you'd like. If you'd like less of a challenge for balance, just gaze to the inside edge of the foot. We'll take about 3 breaths. Feet gently pushing into the floor. Moving with your breaths, the bottom set of ribs is going to exhale us up. Gentle reverse warrior, just hand to the back of the knee, open into the rib cage. Keep the knee and ankle lined up. 2 breaths. We're going to keep the shoulders right where they are. All we're going to do is straighten out the front leg. Just slowly straighten out the front leg. Still lifting the ribs. Exhale the arm down. Shoulders down the back. Rotate the toes to center. Moving to the knees if you need to. You can find a forward fold here if you'd like to reach the hands down for the floor. You don't have to relax down all the way if you want to keep a neutral spine or the hands to the thighs. We'll take 2 breaths. Hands for support. Half lift, thighs for support. All the way up to center. We'll do the same thing on the other side of the body. So we're externally rotating the left thigh. So just turn your toes out. Make sure the whole body's not twisting and you're not leaning out over the leg. T position with the arms, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, drop to the knee. Same thing here. As the knee comes out over the ankle, make sure you can see the big toe to the inside edge. If you keep your feet pushing down and even ever so slightly moving towards one another, just creating that action, you'll engage the muscles on the inside edge of the legs here. I'll hope to find a little more support to the torso. Your breath. Elbow to the thigh when you're ready. Shoulders down the back. Keep your shoulders strong so we're not shrugging. We just want to kind of line the elbow up under the shoulder. Chest stays open. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear, whatever's comfortable here. Lots of variations as we go. Your breath. You can gaze upward to the inside edge of the foot. All the way back up. Reverse warrior. Hand down. So we right hand to the back of the knee. Lift up through your ribs, and the arm just kind of goes wherever's comfortable. Couple of breaths. Slowly straighten out the front leg. Keep lifting the ribs up off the hip points. Maintain your length. We'll exhale the arm down. Toes to center. Lift the ribs on the inhale and the exhale. Hips back, chest forward. You start coming down over the legs. So you can use fingertips to kind of support the body once again, whatever feels comfortable. If you want to bring hands out for the feet, that's an option. We're going to take about 3 breaths here. Half lift on the inhale. We just want to take the heels and kind of turn them in. If you want to heel toe in or narrow the stance up even more, that's up to you. We're going to leave the toes out just a little bit. We're going to bend the right knee as deep as is comfortable. The body will kind of shift off to the side. You can stay right here. If you want to let the hips drop, that's an option. If you want to let your heel lift up off the floor, just a couple of breaths here. This can be reaching forward as little or as much as you'd like to. Any of these different positions that your body ends up in. Just whatever's comfortable for the hip and thigh. And move the body to the other side. So we start to lift and shift. You can walk the hands back over and just do the same thing. A little bit of a bend to the knee. Hands can come down to the floor. We just don't want to shrug or collapse here, but think about maintaining length as best you can. Maybe your toes lift up, maybe they're down. Maybe your heel lifts up. Once again, just finding a spot that's appropriate for the body. You can reach out, you can maintain support with the hands. The important thing here is to breathe. No tension to the jaw, your pace. Hands for support. We'll do the same thing on the other. We'll come right back to center, rather. Any adjusting you need to do? Length, hands to the thighs. We'll come all the way up to center. Shoulders down the back. We're just going to heel toe, step the feet together, whatever you need to do. You can shake out the legs and ankles here a little bit. I'm going to stand up into a tree next. If you'd like to find a wall, you're going to have a wall to stand next to. The closer you get to a wall, the more you can kind of focus in on a spot on the wall, the easier time you're going to have maintaining your balance. There could be a spot on the floor out in front of you or on the ceiling, whatever you need. The firmer the surface is underneath of your feet, the easier time we have with balance typically. Just find a comfortable spot for yourself, lift up to the spine, shoulders down the back. Same thing here, we can squeeze the glutes just a little bit, just to hug up against the back of the pelvis. Abs and obliques, just firm up a little bit to support the front of the spine. Shoulders down the back. Whenever you're ready on the inhale, we can bring the toes to the floor, heel to the ankle. Doesn't matter which leg you start with. Don't kick the hip out to the side, but maintain length. If you want to bring the toes to the foot. If you'd like to come into the calf muscle, that's an option. So we want heels below the knee or toes above the knee, so we don't have any pressure on our kneecap. We want to gently lift the kneecap, push the foot and leg together, lift the ribs. Hands in front of the heart. Breathe. If you want, you can reach the arms out to the sides. Let the shoulders relax and take about 5 breaths. Don't tense up the jaw. Shoulders away from the ears. When you're ready, shoulders drop, hands in front of the heart. You can close the eyes or exhale the feet down side by side, whatever's comfortable for you to come out of your tree. We'll gently shake out the legs and ankles, just whatever movements you need to make. If you like using a wall off to the side, just turn around so you have the wall on your other side, so we're not using the same hand to support. We're not leaning the same way to support every time. We'll lift the ribs, standing up nice and tall, shoulders down the back. Glutes and the abs just hug up against the skeleton for support. When you're ready, you can bring the toes to the floor, heel to the ankle, toes to the foot. Remember, we're lifting up out of the hips and not dropping out to the side. Calf muscle if you'd like, heels below the knee or toes above the knee. Once again, if we're going to push the foot and leg together, just keep the knee joint safe and we'll keep the foot either above or below it. Knee opens to the side. So lift the ribs, shoulders away from the ears, hands in front of the heart. If you need to stay right here, that's perfect. No reason to really go much further unless you just like the added challenge to bring the arms out to the sides. Keep the shoulders away from the ears and breathe. When you're ready, hands in front of the heart, shoulders relax. And the same option here, you can exhale the feet down side by side. You can close your eyes if that feels like it's appropriate for your body. Shaking out the legs and ankles once you've come down, just as little or as much as is appropriate for you. Go ahead and find your heels in, toes out to the side. Keep your chest lifted. We want to think about toes and knees going the same direction and keeping the chest lifted with the spine long as we move. So we're going to come down to a little bit of a squat. So as you exhale, you can start to come down, and this may be where your squat is here today, and you can stay right here. Maybe you can bring the elbows and knees together. And once again, if you're going to bring the body forward, we want to keep the spine long. We're not hunched over, but we're lifting the ribs and maintaining length. If your heels lift up as you come down, that's an option too. Just whatever you need here. You can even sit on a block if you'd like. Wherever you end up, toes and knees face the same direction. Open to the chest. We'll take a few deep breaths here. Any movements you need to the head and neck. If this is a challenge for balance, maybe you're finding a spot to gaze at. You can come down to the floor whenever you need to. Otherwise, we're going to pause for about 4 more breaths. Hands to the front, to the sides, behind us, however you need to come down to the sits bones. We're just going to bring the soles of the feet together for a moment. So kind of maybe wherever you need to stretch. If you pull the heels in real tight, it's going to be more of a groin stretch. You're going to feel the stretch into your back. If your heels are out further, it's going to be a little more IT band. You're going to have a chance to get a little more neutral spine without the pull of the hamstrings. If you don't know which one to do, just start off somewhere in the middle. That could be where your hands touch your feet. Typically, you're going to find the one that's less comfortable for your body because that's where you hold the tightness, and that's probably the one you need to be doing more to open. So just wherever you want. And once again, for those of us who don't know where to start, maybe somewhere in the middle, hands can just touch the feet. Sitting on the edge of a blanket will also help you out here. Blocks under the knees may help some of us out. Lift the ribs on the inhale, forward to the chest on the exhale. Elbows in, we'll tend to round the spine and stretch the back more. Arms out in front will tend to leverage you forward. Whatever feels most appropriate for the body. The more you pull or kind of push into your forward folds, the more you're going to want to keep the chest lifted and the spine long so you're not putting any pressure on the back. The more you tend to relax into your forward folds, the more you can let the spine round and just let that stretch happen across the spine. We're going to take about 5 more breaths here. We need to add a little bit of movement. That's an option. Inhale, hands for support. Walk the hands all the way back through. Hands to the outside edge of the thighs. We're just going to bring the knees together. We're going to bring the legs out long. It doesn't matter which way you're facing here. We just want legs long, toes and knees to the ceiling. For those of us with lower back issues, if you have really tight hamstrings, you're just uncomfortable in forward folds, you can either sit on the edge of something to lift the hips, or you can put a roll underneath of the knees. That could be a pillow or a blanket, just whatever you need. Lift the ribs on the inhale and your forward fold on the exhale. Begin to come forward to the chest. We'll keep a neutral spine as long as you can. A little bit of side-to-side rocking. For those of us who like to pull into forward folds or hold the legs and kind of pull the body, it's really important to keep a neutral spine. We don't want to be rounded over pulling on the vertebra, but we want to be using the abs and the obliques to maintain length. If you're relaxing down, you can relax as little or as much as you'd like here, bending opposing knees, toes out, heels out. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. We'll take 4 or 5 deep even breaths from here. If you'd like, you can let the chest drift off to the left, let the chest drift off to the right. That'll help to open up into the legs, the lower back. We'll hit the IT band again for those of us who'd like. Another deep breath here. Hands for support. We want to pull the shoulders back, find your neutral spine, and just slowly unhinge from there. Shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. Any movements you need, go ahead and bring the feet flat to the floor. So we're going to lift up into a boat pose. And what we don't want to do is sit on the back in our boat pose. We want to keep the sits bones, the 2 bony points at the top of the leg, or the sits bones that you sit on. We want to keep those on the floor. We don't want to be resting all the way back on the tailbone. It is possible for some of us to have the tailbone and the sits bones all touching at the same time, but we want to make sure we have the sits bones on the floor. And we can rock back as much as you need to. Just stay on the sits bones and not on the lower spine. I'm going to start off with the hands behind us. This will let us really find a good spot. Feet can come out in front. It doesn't matter if your toes are lifted. Lift the ribs gently so we keep the chest open. This isn't tensing up the lower back and pushing the belly forward. It's lifting the chest. Arms come up. Shoulders away from your ears. You can rotate the palms up if you need to use thighs for support. Once again, where your pelvis ends up is up to you as long as we're not rolling down onto the back. We're going to maintain our length. Sits bones on the floor. If you'd like, you can take the toes up a little bit. We'll take about 4 breaths here. Don't let the chest collapse, but keep that lifted to the front of the chest. Back of the neck as long as we're not jutting the chin out. Whenever you're ready on the exhale, we're going to let the toes drop down to the floor. Hands to the thighs for support if you need it. We'll just hug the knees in. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side, whatever you need across the neck. We'll take about 3 breaths here. If you need to support your head, you can use the arms to support the head. We'll come up for another boat. Hands to the floor behind you. Let that weight push into your palms. Shoulders down the back. We're lifting the ribs up off the hips. Chest stays open. This time, we're going to start with the feet. Keep the sits bones on the floor, and we're not resting on the back, but we're definitely feeling sits bones touching. And on the inhale, just lift your toes up. Maybe only come up a little bit, and that's fine. If you'd like to bring your hands forward to the thighs for support, you can hold on to the thighs. If you hold the thighs, don't let the body relax and start collapsing. Maintain your length. Arms can come up if you'd like, and you can lift the feet as much as you want. Just maintain weight into the sits bones. Breathe. Regardless of the position you're in, wherever you chose to be here, maintain all of your support. You can drop the feet if they're up. You can hug the knees into the chest, and we'll breathe here. Once again, you can use arms to support the forehead, or you can hug the knees in and let the head and neck hang heavy. We'll take about 3 breaths. If you have any blocks or blankets on your mat, go ahead and just throw them off to the side for a moment. You can come down however you would like. Maybe hands to the thighs, tucking the chin into the chest and rolling down nice and safe if you'd like. Side to side rocking, whatever movements you need to do from there is entirely up to you. So go ahead and bring the feet flat to the floor here first. Kind of find a fairly neutral pelvis and lower back for us. You're going to take the right knee and just let it come down towards the chest, the armpit, or the shoulder, whatever feels most comfortable. Just hug it in a little bit. This may be where you stay. If you'd like, you can slowly begin to lengthen the left leg out underneath you. And it may stay foot to the floor. It may not straighten out. Your leg may fall all the way down to the floor. Take a few breaths here and just try to relax the lower back, hips, and thighs as best you can. Exaggerating a couple of breaths if you'd like. When you're ready, try to keep the leg, wherever it ended up, keep it about in the same spot. We'll bring the left leg up to meet it. We'll breathe here. Any movements to the head and neck, any rocking to the hips you need to do. When you're ready, both feet to the floor. Once again, neutral lower back and pelvis. Bring the left thigh back to the chest, so just wherever it's going to end up. And then slowly straighten out your right leg. And again, it may stay real bent. You may have the foot flat to the floor. Your leg relaxes down. That's just entirely up to you. Hips, thighs, and lower back relax. Same breath. Bring the legs off the chest, feet to the floor. You can rock the knees from side to side as much as you'd like. Bring your arms out for a moment. Let your feet come all the way out to the edges of the mat. And then on the exhale, just knees float over to the left. You can look over the right if you'd like. Just a couple of breaths. Inhaling or exhaling as the lower back comes down. Same thing to the other side. Readjust or set if you need to. Knees right, gaze left. A few breaths. When you're ready, lower back towards the floor. Inhaling or exhaling. Right back to center. Knees into the chest for a moment. Once again, that just helps us to find a neutral lower back. And we're going to let the feet fall down as close to the glutes as is comfortable naturally. So don't grab your feet and see how far in you can pull them, but rather let the feet fall down to a natural spot wherever they're going to land here today. Arms to the sides. Flatten your shoulder blades, open the chest. So once your feet have dropped down to their natural spot, abs and obliques hug up against the skeleton, and that's just gentle. You don't need to force squeezing the glutes. You don't need to force squeezing the abs. It's just about hugging the muscles up against the skeleton. Glutes and the abs for support. Gentle lift of the pelvic floor. On the inhale, thighs lift. Push the weight from your feet up into your shoulders to create some length and openness. And then from there, you can push down to your arms however you would like. You may bend the elbows and push into the triceps. You may bring the hands under the body, roll up onto the forearms to open the chest and engage the upper back. Maybe you're just pushing your arms down into the floor. We'll take about 4 breaths here. Maintain all of your support so you're not relaxing. And when you're ready, on an exhale, we want to move our support back to where we started. So we don't relax down. We keep the glutes hugged up against the back of the pelvis, abs and obliques still making their corset across the front of the body. We'll slowly bring the body back down. Maybe you come down in 1 breath. Maybe it takes you 4 or 5. Doesn't matter. Just deliberate movement. Thighs into the chest, a couple of breaths. When you're ready, we'll stretch the legs one at a time along across the floor. Palms up to the ceiling so the shoulder blades are flat. You can rock the head from side to side to find an appropriate spot on the back of the skull and breathing here for a moment. Relaxing the arches of the feet, palms of the hands, the muscles around the belly button. Relax your lower back. Jaw relaxes. As best you can, pull your focus into the movement of the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. And as you breathe, allow your exhales to lengthen even just a little bit. It's perfect. You may be exaggerating a breath or two to help start that process. Not forcing anything with the breath. So we'd like to apply focus to the movement of the rib cage. And then keep it there. If your mind wanders, just deliberately pull focus back to the ribs again. That's part of the process. It's taking advantage of distractions to reinforce the habit of drawing focus to whatever point you chose. Arches of the feet, palms of the hands relax. Lower back, glutes, the abs, pelvic floor, and lower back relax together. Once again, finding movement to your ribs as you breathe. Stay here for another 5 minutes if you need to. Whenever you're ready, you'll just gently bring the knees into the chest with whatever movements you need to create. Breathe. Once again, if you want to stay flat on your back, that's perfect here. You want to roll over to one side of the body to the other, that's an option. Couple of breaths. Hands for support as you push into the floor, coming back up to center. Right back where we started. And once again, if you want to stay flat on your back in relaxation, that's perfect. You can all breathe and notice movement of the ribs as we inhale and exhale. Coming back to that subtle movement of your breath as often as you need it as a focal point. Stay hydrating breaths to help define the length of the body, appropriate posture for what we're doing. Maintaining deep, even breaths. We're getting plenty of oxygen to the brain and the body. Helps us out with focus, stability, balance, mood. Your pace, your breath, especially when our practice ends. On the light in you is the same light in me. Namaste. You want to leave any comments at the bottom about things you want in your class, that's fine, or anything you want to see in the future. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week. Thanks for joining us.